Okay, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone, and a happy new year to us all. My name is Olanike Adeoye, the main facilitator for today's webinar. And with me here, I have Princess Hoffer, who will be co-facilitating this event with me, and Hodion Okosun, who is our section administrator. On behalf of SPE Lagos Section Chair, Mr. Michael Oyere, we would like to welcome you to our first webinar for this year, 2021, titled How to Boost Your Resilience and Leadership at Work, which is being organized by the SPE Lagos Section 61. But before we dive into the webinar, we would like to take a brief safety moment. For the safety moment, we know we are having a global pandemic with COVID-19, and we're to keep safe. Please, let's stay safe. Let's remember to wash our hands frequently. Let's use an alcohol-based sanitizer. And when we are in public, let's remember to always wear our face mask when we are out in public, or when we can't practice social distancing. Even with social distancing, I would still strongly encourage us to continue to wear a face mask as long as we are outside of the house or we are in public. Let's try to avoid large gatherings. And if we are feeling any symptoms, let's try and self-isolate first. And then let's call the NCDC on the number provided. Let's continue to keep safe, and I pray we all remain safe. Okay, back to today's webinar. We, as said, the title is How to Boost Your Resilience and Leadership at Work. And of course, resilience is a virtue that is required to cultivate the tenacity to persevere irrespective of the odds, and particularly with the current global pandemic. In today's webinar, our presenter will share some of our personal practical tips that have helped us significantly to boost resilience in individuals as well as for organizations, and this has led to a lot of greater achievements and successes. Please, let's try and pay attention. Let's eliminate all sources of distractions so that we can maximize value from today's webinar. So this afternoon, we have a world-renowned leader, a consultant and author in sustainability, leadership, resilience, and mentoring. Our success resides in our motivational leadership, grounded and well-rounded experience in large and complex organizations with direct connections with leaders of different sectors across the world globally. Please, let's make welcome with a SPE welcome, Maria Angela Capello for today's webinar. So Maria, you're welcome, and the floor is yours. Over to you. You can please unmute your mic.
Hello, everybody. I am so pleased to be here today, and it is my pleasure to address once more the SPE Lagos section. Let me share with you that the SPE Lagos in Nigeria has given me many satisfactions, especially because the quality of the questions I receive from you guys in the Q&A. And I always look forward to see your questions because they are insightful and dig into the most important and relevant points that I want to share every time I address you. So thank you for the invitation. You have wonderful leaders in your section, and that is instrumental to make things happen. So what are we going to talk today? Today, we are going to talk about resilience and leadership at work. And this is a special presentation that I based on my distinguished lecturer, but is focused on you, the SPE Lagos section. So let's start. This is a summary of who am I, because you will notice that I will share examples from all over the world. This very photo, I picked it because it was taken there in Lagos, and it was at the NAPE event with so many students around me. And I hope that the photo shows my happiness when I address you guys. I have already written 2 books. These are my 2 books, and these are the 3 maps that shape who I am. This is the map of Italy. You may know I am Italian. This is the map of Venezuela, where I was born and grew up. And this is the map of Kuwait. I lived 15 years in the Middle East, and this also shapes who I am today. So let's start and let's dig into that important topic these days, which is resilience. And it all starts, of course, as Olanike was saying, about unavoidable changes. Many times our resilience is needed not because we are particularly a difficult person or we face difficult moments. Actually, what happens is many times unavoidable. And who knew in 2019 that the last year was going to be so difficult and we were going to struggle in isolation and trying to cope with a pandemic? If you would have told me that this photo was even possible, this is a guy sanitizing the square in front of the Cathedral of Milan, the Duomo of Milano, right? I would have told you, you are crazy. I mean, this is one of the most touristic places in the world. But as you know, Italy was one of the very first countries hit by the pandemic. And we all saw images of the desert streets of Rome, Venice, and Milan, which is something, you know, very, very sad to understand, to digest. And as Europe and then other countries were collapsing in economy and the way to cope with the pandemic, Africa also initiated their incursion in this tragic event, which is of global scale. So there are many things you don't control. And in 2020, the pandemic also impacted in many ways the price of oil. And many, many of our colleagues all over the world were laid off. And yes, resilience is needed. So today, we are going to check in my outline a few items which are important. What is resilience? Some common biases about resilience. And then we will focus on what are the elements of resilience for you as an individual and for the organizations. Hopefully, I will give you some tips to check if the company or the organization you are working in is or not resilient. And we will wrap up with some final reflections that I hope will be not only funny, but perhaps inspirational about leadership. So, what is resilience? Resilience, this is the common concept that you find. If you Google it, you will find this. Resilience is the strength and the speed of our response to adversity. And now I have a question for you. Do you know a Greek story, a Greek myth that is related to a guy pushing a big rock to a mountain? Do you know what is this analogy of resilience? Does anybody know? Let me hear from you. Nobody?
So basically, Maria, because the audience will be responding.
I understand. Okay,
Yeah.
so it will be in the Q&A. So I will keep this interactive with you, Olanike, and who else can I talk to? The panelist?
Yes, with me I have a Princess as well.
Okay, good. So Olanike, do you know who is this guy? I mean, what is this analogy of resilience? Probably no, but tell me, do you know?
Not really, but it just looks very interesting because it looks like it's
exactly.
impossible.
So look, this is the analogy of resilience that is generally used because there is an interesting story. You know, the Greeks they have all these stories, no, from the mythology. And there was a guy, this is Sisyphus, strange name, but this is his name, Sisyphus. And what he did is that, unfortunately, when his wife died, he felt so lonely and so discouraged, so sad, that he decided to go, you know, down all the way to the realms of death. And he pulled up his wife into life again, to live with him again. And that lasted for a while until the Greek god and goddesses, they noticed, oh, look at this fellow, Sisyphus. He did something which is prohibited. Of course, can you imagine, Olanike, if everybody would have that power, it would be a disaster for life because there is no difference between life and death. So they punished him. They told him, you cannot do that. And the punishment was to carry this heavy rock all the way up to the mountain. But when the guy did that, the rock will fall down all over again. So every day of his life, Sisyphus has to carry the rock to the top of the mountain. And the worst of the punishment is not only to carry the rock, but to know that he will have to do it all over again the next day. Can you imagine what a horrible punishment that is? Well, as Sisyphus, all of us have our own struggles in life. And now I want to share you what are those struggles. Share with you. And I have divided those in 3 levels, from most important to least important. The top challenge, difficulty, and an issue that we will ever face in life and work is loss. In life, of course, is loss of a dear one, of a loved one. And God forbids, if we were to lose a loved person, it would be a tragic thing. And this is the most important thing to cope with. At work, that translates as the loss of a job. And as you very well know, losing a job is probably the most stressful situation you may ever find at work. The second level of issue are changes. And changes in life might very well be something very sad, like a divorce, or very stressful as a change of city or location, a change in the family. I mean, a change is a stressful situation. At work, that translates as, for example, a change in your responsibilities, or an assignment to another city, another job, or a change of jobs. I mean, if you leave a company to go to another, that is a big change, and it requires resilience. And finally, in the third level are the difficulties. And you know, what is difficult for a person, it might not be difficult for another person. For me, it was when I was at the university, I remember very well, for me, I had difficulty with electromagnetics. And I don't know about you, but for me, it was very difficult. I didn't like it. But other colleagues, for them, it was easy, right? And by the way, I married, my husband is a PhD in electromagnetics. Can you imagine that? Those are the ironies of life. But at work, a difficulty can be, for example, a new software you have to use, or some colleague you don't like to work with. So what is easy for you may be difficult for another person. So there are people that face this better than others, with more strength, and they seem to be very resilient. And there are some biases about resiliency. What does it mean to be resilient? Well, some of the ideas about resilience is that people think that a person who is resilient is a person that endures, that keep going without resting. You know, those people who work until 8, 10 p.m. at night, you know, this is, some people think that is resilience, but that is not. Also, another bias is that a resilience is a never-ending, always working person, or to have an extraordinary capacity and an endless high energy. So I don't know if you have seen this advertising. Olanike, have you seen this advertising in Lagos? This is a battery energizer. Have you seen it?
Yeah, but I'm still seeing the slide you have about common biases about the resilience.
Yes, and there is a bunny there. If you don't see it, yes, this is the bunny of a battery called Energizer. And the advertising, as you know, every other toy is dying out, except for the bunny of resilience, right? And this Energizer bunny keeps going and going and going, and that is the advertising. So in many ways, it is a lot of fun because the problem of that, this battery is always on, and it cannot be activated because it is you cannot throw it away. It always on, always on. And why we have this idea? Well, there is a reason for that. There is a reason. And I am going to show you several ones that why we think that the super people are super resilient. Well, when you were small kids and even beyond that, this is of course Superman. And I have a question for Olanike. I am using Olanike. I am using you just as if you were my only audience, right? So have you ever seen Superman at a restaurant or sleeping?
Not really. It's always flying, moving. Yeah, you're correct.
Exactly. So this is a bias we have because it is nurtured by what we see in the media, in the movies, everywhere. This is another example. You know him, right, Olanike? Who is this guy? Olanike, where are you?
Yeah, I'm here. Fine.
Yes. Do you know who is this?
Not sure.
Is this Arnold?
Yes,
Yeah,
this is.
I know him. I know him.
Yeah, I
This
think
is
Odeon and Philip and Princess could know as
This
well.
is Rambo.
Sylvester Stallion, Rambo.
Exactly. This is Sylvester Stallone, Rambo. And yes, he has like 7 movies of this, but this is not, resilience is not a macho, let's say, quality, because there are some ladies who are very, very, very resilient. And I want to share with you one example of that. I mean, you can agree or not with monarchy, but one thing you cannot disagree is that this lady here is resilient, isn't she?
Definitely. She keeps going, almost 100 years old. She keeps going.
Yes. And I pick a photo of her, which is pink, like the bunny of the Energizer battery, because she keeps going and going and going. Bless her. So when we think about resilience, right, we also, I like to share with you some analogies of sport. And for the sport, I want to share with you, there is a sport that people are fighting all the time. And what sport is that? It's easy. This is an easy question.
Boxing.
Of course.
Boxing.
Yes, boxing. In boxing, right, people fight all the time, and the sportsmen are all the time fighting. So if you consider that every day they have to fight with one another in order to earn their savings and also win their battles, what you have to dig inside, how is the preparation for that? Well, even the best boxers, right? They prepare themselves. And guess what? Inside the glove, they protect their hands, their knuckles. They have these kind of bandages so that they protect their hands and they do not get hit and they can keep going and going. They train every day so that they have muscles and they can keep going. So if they protect themselves, we need to protect ourselves and build our resilience, because this is the most important slide of all my presentation. We do not have resilience, we build resilience. You get the message? We do not have it, we can build it, okay? So each one of us is not that like we were born with resilience. but we can build it. So let me explain to you what are those elements of resilience for individuals and for organizations. For individuals, I created this concept after researching and merging everything I read. And I would like Olanike to read it. Can you read it, Olanike?
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
So what is resilience? And this is resilience is our capacity and set of internal competencies to endure and focus on long-term goals and to bounce back in adversities. Wow, interesting.
Very good. And in this concept, we see 3 words in yellow, and those are endure, and we already knew that kind of thing by intuition, that we need to keep going, right? But there are other new words, which are long-term goals and bounce back. So long-term means that if you want really to become resilient, you have to look into the long term, because whatever happens to you now is going to lose importance in the long-term view. And the second word, which is bounce back, means that you know that we all will fall into holes, but we have to crawl out of that hole when we are in difficulties or depressed for any reason. In adversity, we need to bounce back. So let me share with you a little bit more about what are those elements of resilience. And I have clustered them in 3: self, connectivity, and exterior. So let's take a look at the self. For the self, there are 4 elements, and those are self-knowledge, self-control, self-efficacy, and your health. So to become resilient, okay, you have to get, the first thing is you have to understand and to know your weaknesses and your strength. And let me tell you a secret. After more than 35 years of experience at work, I remember that at the beginning, I was struggling because everybody and all the courses of leadership and this and that the company was sending me, they were telling me that you have to build and you have to repair your weaknesses, that you have to know your gaps and work on your weaknesses. Well, you know what? After all these years, my weaknesses are still my weaknesses. I have worked on them, but they are still there. So, like more than 20 years ago, I make a change. And the change I did was to focus on my strengths, and that changed my career. And this is what I recommend you. Focus on your strengths. Because even after 30 years or 40 years of work, if you are strong at communicating, you will become even better at that. If you are a people person, you will become better at being a people person and liaising with your colleagues. But it's very difficult to overcome your weaknesses. You get my point? So I will compel you, I will motivate you to analyze yourself and build on your strengths. The second point is the self-control. You cannot afford to lose your control at work. May that be for crying, or may that be for anger or depression. No, you have to be more centered and perhaps a little bit more detached, in the sense that it enables you to have control of all situations. Then there is self-efficacy, and this is a concept perhaps not very well known, but we are good at some things and bad at others. And some things come naturally to you. For example, I am good at some strategic thinking. I'm good at that. But I am also good at repetitive tasks. I like to do, for example, when somebody needs to quickly wrap the Christmas presents, there I am. I can wrap, I don't know, 30, 40 Christmas presents in a snap, because I am good at repetitive things. I know that. What are you good at? Think about that and try to find the work that will leverage on that self-efficacy of yours. Now I am working in things that are relatable to strategic plans, which is what I do best. And finally, if you want to become resilient, like the boxer, you have to take care of your health. I cannot stress the importance of a good food and exercise. Exercise every day. The next cluster is connectivity. Let's go to the right corner. And the first thing is a positive attitude. So I have a question for Olanike. Olanike, do you like to be around people who are negative all the time?
Definitely no, because they will just kill my morale and, I'll be demoralized. Yeah.
Exactly, what's that? So I remember when I joined the oil industry, I was a fresh graduate, and I was blessed immediately. I found job. This was back in Venezuela, and they gave me an office. I go to my office, and on Monday morning there was a geologist. She was a woman, and she was already old by the time I joined. I was like, what? Probably 23, 22 years old. And she was 40, 45. Well, the first day at work, she came with an umbrella complaining. Oh, look at this in Caracas, all the time raining. What an inconvenience. It's so cold. I hate it. It's horrible. Okay. So I was looking at this. I said, well, okay, this is normal. Rain is normal. Anyways, on Tuesday, she comes again with an umbrella and she goes like, oh my God, it's so sunny, it's so hot. I need an umbrella because I cannot stand this sunlight, it's so horrible, so hot. Okay, so every day she had something negative about everything, about work, about the boss, about the weather, about the car, about everything. I didn't want to be with her. Nobody wanted to be with her. So if you are not a positive person by nature, you know what? Fake it until you feel it. Make a conscious effort in having always a positive word. But at Lagos, you guys are very positive and very cheerful. I seldomly know any person from Nigeria who is negative attitude person. But it's still good that I emphasize this item. The second point is assertiveness. Assertiveness is another kind of difficult word that means that when you assess a situation, please do not be overly optimistic. I know you can be overly optimistic. So watch out. Don't be overly optimistic and don't be overly pessimistic, right? We want you to be in the middle, in the realistic approach to life and work. This point is many times very difficult for me. You know why? Because I am Italian, and Italians can be very operatic, very tragic. In opera, the people die, So I can be like very dramatic when things happen around me. And I cannot hold it. I mean, this is my way of being. So try to be assertive. The third item for connectivity is, of course, networks. And networks, you build your networks around the future, not the past. It's good to groom the people that you know. But if you want to grow in your personal life and at work, you need to have a rich network with people who are better than you. You know why? Because you are the average of your network. I will repeat this. You are the person average in your network. Think about it. I mean, you have excellent people and not so good people in your network, right? So build your network, including every time people above your rank in the company who are better than you, who motivate, who are role models for you, so that your average grows and you will grow, okay? So make sure that you groom your network and make sure you have a good personal support. For me, My personal support is my family. I have been blessed with a very good husband who always is there, like a rock for me. Is my support. And we have 2 daughters who are wonderful and who also cheer me up when I am troubled. The third element in my cluster is about resilience is the exterior component. And the first one is emotional intelligence. You guys in the SPE Lagos have a high degree of emotional intelligence. I have had Olanike understanding if I don't feel well or if I am at the top of my performance. She sometimes, when she sees we meet by Teams or by Zoom, and she see my face a little bit troubled, she will ask me, Maria, are you okay? So she has a very high emotional intelligence. Do you agree, Olanike?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Maria. And I believe we also need to find ways to even boost it to be better as well.
Yes, exactly, very well. And thank you for that, Olanike, because if you read wrongly what people are trying to tell you, you will then take wrong decisions. When I was in Kuwait, the Middle East, people will not tell you no for an answer. They will tell you, well, Maria, we can do perhaps another round of decision, or they will tell you, why don't we delay this for the future? This is not the right moment. So they don't tell you no, but the answer is no. At the beginning, when I was recently moved to Kuwait, I thought that was a yes. And I was very happy with the outcome of the meetings. But so, with time, gradually, I I boosted my emotional intelligence, and I realized how to interpret a no and a yes from people that will not tell you directly. You see? So it's good to relate yourself with the exterior to boost your emotional intelligence. Also, you need to have recovery strategies. I mean, this is the power of the network and your SPE as well that gives you the network and opportunities to recover. If you ever lose your job, etc., it's good to have some strategies laid out. Vitality boosters. What is that? Well, if you really feel bad, you have to make an effort, right? To, for example, exercise more, eat better. For me, a vitality booster is to play my piano. You know that I play the piano. I don't know if you know that. I am a musician as well. So when I have had a very stressful day, I need 1 or 2 hours playing the piano, even if it is at night. That is my vitality booster. And most important of all is the career strategy. If you have a long-term career strategy, whatever happens to you in 1 or 2 years' time, it's not going to be so important because you have your eyes in the future, right? So what we want to avoid is that you totally burn out at life or at work. We don't want you to be this guy. Olanike, I don't want to see you like this.
Definitely, we don't want to get there.
And now that I have you there unmuted, can you read what is here written about this guy that is in the sea?
Oh, resilience. Resilience can be an acquired skill. I like that. Like learning how to swim. Such skill is the difference between drowning and swimming, or between failing and thriving.
Exactly.
Princess, I have Princess here with me as well. Princess, what do you think?
It's very important. Resilience as a skill is very important. Well, like Maria said, we build it, we don't have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Princess, do you remember when the very first time somebody throw you into a swimming pool to learn how to swim?
Oh my God, I jumped out. I jumped out. It was when I was having the Bozier training. I couldn't stay. I jumped.
Yes, and you remember that you were thinking were going to die?
Yes.
It happens to everybody. The first time your teacher or the camp facilitator or your family, your mother or your big brothers, somebody will push you into a swimming pool, into a river, and you feel you are going to die. But you learn how to swim, and then it's all enjoyment, isn't it, Princess?
Yes.
So that is why resilience can be an acquired skill. So why is career resilience important? Because it helps us to thrive in change and uncertainty. How? Well, committing to personal excellence and continuous learning, okay? Once you become an expert, you can become an expert in something else. And many times you have to reinvent yourself. For example, now we have to reinvent ourselves. And oops, it moves, but it's okay. I want to share with you a career. Resilience is important because a career is not like a path or a road. It's a roller coaster. And a roller coaster is marked by numerous ups and downs, you know? So if career is that, let me go back and finalize these ideas. We want to keep our skills set current and align with market-driven trends. For example, now a market-driven trend is machine learning, digitalization, code, programming, Python, and all those skills you can gain webinars for free. So gain opportunity and learn about the new topics, sustainability and these kind of things, right? So that you keep yourself employable, which is proactively focused on future skills to sustain employability. And career resilience is important to create a diverse and broad network of support. Remember, make a circle, analyze your network, and figure out if all your colleagues in your network are from your same profession. If that is the case, expand it. Include people from human resources. If you are from drilling, include geologists. If you are a geologist, include reservoir engineers, so that you have different perspectives and different opportunities as well. So a roller coaster will then be easier to ride, hopefully. And now I want to share with you another perspective, again from the sports. And I would like Princess to read it. Princess, can you read this? You know her, I hope you know her.
Yes. Yes. Serena Williams. Okay,
Yeah.
so let me read.
Okay.
For me, it was a question of resilience. What others marked as flaws or disadvantages about myself, my race, my gender, I embraced as fuel for my success.
So this is, thank you, Princess. This is a slide that I have toured around the world because I admire Serena Williams. She is the first female that has won so many Grand Slams. And she is the one who was complaining that the Wimbledon trophy was very small for girls and very big for the men. How come is that? And they told her, well, we never thought about that. We thought you didn't want to raise such a big trophy. And they said, no way. She said, I want a big trophy. So she is a fantastic woman. She also even won one of the Grand Slam being pregnant. I mean, she's amazing. And yes, sometimes you have to build on your strengths and understand what are your strengths. Other people may have looked at her that her race and gender were disadvantages, but she was proud of that and she built on that. So if I were to tell you what are my 5 tips for resilience, I would say, number 1, identify what worked for you in difficult moments. Number 2, have a realistic long-term goal. Number 3, trust in your abilities. You have to trust in yourself. 4th, Reach out to your network to rescue you. And fifth, know your mechanisms to cope and distress. Now we are going to see some elements of resilience for organizations. This is for your company. And a resilient organization has the ability of an organization to anticipate, respond, and adapt to incremental change, also to sudden disruptions, not only to survive, but to prosper. Anticipate, respond, and adapt. For the COVID, we didn't have the opportunity to anticipate it was coming. But I would like to ask Olanike, what sector responded to COVID in a remarkable way?
Sincerely, if you ask me, I would even like to say our sector, the oil and gas sector, actually did a very remarkable one, because we, for example, the communities, like my company, for example, I know we had to help the community, get the vital needs, what they need in terms of protection, and also for the employees. Immediately we started, working from home, and this is new normal, where even things that we were doing physically together, we thought it could never be done if we don't see each other. Now we do things even without seeing each other, thanks to the technology. So we're leveraging on the technology. I would say oil and gas actually, I think, generally responded very well, and we are adapting to the new normal. Yeah.
Do you have any idea? Other sectors that we never expected, perhaps, and they change so rapidly?
Maria, we lost you in a bit. After I finished speaking, I actually lost you.
And now, do you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
I am asking if there are other sectors, and I wanted Princess to tell me if there are other sectors that also responded very well to the pandemic, and very rapidly, by the way.
Okay. I would believe that the frontline healthcare workers responded rapidly. I salute their courage to be able to handle something that they had not known before. So, yeah, the healthcare.
Fantastic, because these are the two top responses that the first enable energy to be always reliable, gas, oil, etc. And the second, of course, the health. Other sectors also help and suddenly change. For example, the retailing, the grocery shops, having delivery, things that before we didn't enjoy, and now we have discovered it's so comfortable to sit at home and receive the grocery shopping, right? So that is something that was very good. Also, the IT industry. It was an explosive use of Zoom and Teams for communicating online. They also responded very well, expanding the capacity of these systems so that the whole world was communicating. And how do you recognize if your organization is resilient or not? Well, I had created like a table so that you can check if your company belongs to the left or to the right side of this slide. A sign of weakness is that in a company, how things are is an unquestioned reality. There is fear of reporting errors. The employees defer decisions. There is a culture of blaming, everybody finding who is guilty, who is guilty. There are dissident voices, well, those are ignored. And people work in silos. There is these conversations about my department versus your department, us versus them. The leaders agree on goals and build commitment. So they do not challenge the goal, you see? Instead, the resilient organizations They have awareness about what could go wrong, and they prepare for the future. The opportunities and issues are freely discussed. There is creativity, there is empowerment, there are rich interactions because there is diversity. And anybody can challenge policies, procedures, and the status quo. So the things, how things are. So is your company to the left or to the right? I will leave you with that answer. Because is oil and gas resilient? It depends where you work. Some companies are more resilient than others. The national oil sector is demonstrated to build up on resiliency, but generally it is the private sector that is more resilient. So it depends on your cultural behavior, the organizational behavior, what is the speed of the decision process, what is the appetite for innovation. So all this is important. I want to share with you 3 examples of resiliency of oil and gas. This, of course, is Macondo, the crisis of BP in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, everybody thought BP was gone forever, but BP is strong as ever before, and they have a lot of things to share with us about how to cope with a big crisis. They sold assets, they did all what is here, but most important, they couldn't anticipate, but they did responded and adapted. The second thing, the second example is Equinor. In Equinor, okay, they even changed their name. This is the headquarters. Look how beautiful. They are anticipating the future. It is 3 years ago that they changed their name and their logo. So they are responding and they are adapting to the new reality. They, in fact, are one of the few companies that are really walking the talk to adapt into the broad energy scenario to become a broad energy company. The third example is Shell. For Shell, you can even take the resilience course online for free, even if you are not a Shell employee in YouTube. And their strategic ambition is to thrive in the energy transition, responding to society's desire for a cleaner, convenient, and competitive energy. By the way, Shell is the company who creates planning scenarios into the future. Remember that for resilience, we have to look into the future. Well, this is how they build themselves into the future. And I want to share with you one example outside oil and gas. You know, these are the Lego bricks. Oh my God, when you step on that at night, it's horrible pain. But we all know this. The thing is that the Legos started in 1949. They were successful for decades. But in the 1990s, with the new computer games, they lost ground. And they were going to have a very aggressive takeover by competitor Mattel. You know, Mattel is the one that fabricates the Barbies, you know? So Lego was in trouble. What they did, they hired a new CEO. And the new CEO launched a new strategy. This was back in 2004. And he understood that they needed to go back to the core. They were to focus on bricks and only the bricks. But they needed to rely on the customer's creativity and do some partners to keep in touch with the trends. So they were anticipating, responding, and adapting. Nowadays, you see Lego has all kinds of alliances, and you have alliances with Marvel Comics, with Star Wars. You see Harry Potter Lego. Women in NASA, hola Nike. This was a recommendation of the Society of Women Engineers, and they accepted it. Other companies are not resilient. Let me share you this example. Do you guys know what is Blockbuster?
Yes.
Okay, so you probably, like me, have gone to the Blockbuster on Friday nights, long time ago, to try to grasp into the last copy of the new movie to see at home, and then buy snacks and stuff. But what was wrong with Blockbuster? They did not anticipate a change in technology. They didn't respond, they didn't adapt. Other companies much smaller than blockbuster like Netflix, actually grew so much because they relied on technology and the changes. So was Blockbuster resilient? No. Why? Because they were not flexible enough to envision the future. They were not monitoring technology. They were not able to change. This bottom of Netflix could be Blockbuster, but they didn't envision that change coming. So 5 tips to bounce forward for companies. This is like my humble recommendations. Number 1, focus on the future. To focus on the future, you at least have to be aware of the trends. So I encourage you to always read the news and understand what's going on, especially in oil and gas. Number 2, enable innovation and flexibility. 3, foster diversity. Diversity brings you new ideas. Number 4, invest in learning. And number 5, promote fearless ecosystems. To finalize my presentation, I want to share with you some inspirational slides about leadership. And I hope that you will laugh a lot and you will enjoy this ride. Because I want to talk to you about fish. In Nigeria, I ate probably the most delicious fish, and I know that you have a wonderful coast to visit and to enjoy. And the thing is that fish are a very good analogy for leadership factors, because many times you will find yourself swimming against the current because you are a minority, or perhaps because changes are coming into you. Perhaps all your colleagues were left in the layoff in the company and you kept your job, or vice versa. You were laid off and everybody else is at the company and you feel horrible. Well, this is the moment to understand who you are and start thinking as a leader. This little yellow fish and the big giant fish here, you know who is the leader here? Who can drive the big fish around? The yellow fish. These are the pilot fish. And even if they are tiny, they are the ones who guide these big, massive fish into the areas where there is food, because they eat the food that comes out from this mouth, this big mouth. So if you think about that, you don't have to be big to be a leader. You can have an influential leadership. And why is that important? Because generally at work, especially when you are young professionals, you are part of a big school of fish. A school of fish is this group of fish, okay? And we all look the same. Don't you feel sometimes you look all the same? All the CVs of the people graduated in Lagos will look the same. That is the situation all over the world. You graduate with a degree as an engineer in petroleum engineering, and you all look the same. So in order to avoid this, some things have to happen, and that is called leadership. When you differentiate yourself, okay, or people will notice you, and generally, even they will be scared of you because you are so powerful, because you volunteer, you have so many things, you earn prizes and awards, because you exercise what is leadership, okay? But you don't have to be a shark or a big fish to be a leader. This photo is from Venezuela, and these are piranhas. Do you know what piranhas are? These are the fish that eat flesh. Very dangerous. There is also piranhas. The piranhas only habit the Amazonia, right? And they are voracious. They eat other fish, but also they eat. If you put your hand in the river and you take it out, you will only be left with your bones. And you will ask me, wow, I don't want to be a piranha. You are right. But guess what? In life, sometimes you have to fake it. You can be a very innocent fish, but sometimes you have to fake you are a shark or you are a piranha. Most importantly, your leadership is your differentiator. And you want to be this guy. In an aquarium where everybody looks the same, you want to be this guy. All right? So, as we are talking about the sea, let's think about something, about leadership. What was key and what will be key always for leaders? The answer is the point of view. Nowadays, some of us are here in the ocean and some of us are in the swimming pool. This is an amazing swimming pool of salted water that is located in the UK and is just right a very rough ocean. You see the guys here? If they don't see what's happening around, they will spend all their life in this area without noticing there is danger outside. This guy here swimming, he knows the life and the world is difficult, right? So the point of view is important. And it does matter for you to become the best leader you can be. I want you not to be these guys who are comfortably swimming in this nice swimming pool and they don't care what is happening with their colleagues or what is happening around them in the world. I want you to be this guy that knows life is rough, life is difficult, and he knows that there are some people in a comfortable area, but some others that perhaps need help. I want you to become the best leader that you can be. With this, I finish the presentation today. Thanking so much the participation of Olanike and Princess who facilitated my own presentation. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so very much, Maria, for such, you've swept me off my feet. And I believe the audience as well, sincerely, I was taking notes and I couldn't even keep up with the notes because there were so many points that you've actually, you've enlightened us today, how we need to know that resilience is our capacity and set of internal competencies for us to endure and to focus on the long-term goals. So it's endurance and also looking on the long term, not just focusing on the now, and also to know that it's not every day that the bed is not always rosy. There will be days where there will be adversities and we need to be able to bounce back. And a lot of other key points that you've also said, that for me, for example, there is need for us to focus on our strength, because a lot of times we're trying to fix our weaknesses and we spend so much energy trying to fix the weaknesses that will never go away, but we leave behind the strength that we can actually work on and actually use it for our self-efficacy, something that we're good at, and that we should try and identify those and be able to work on that. A lot of more points, and I believe the audience, they've taken so much notes, and there are a lot of questions as well that we'll be asking. So I think now we'll just move ahead and try to raise some of the questions that our audience, they're willing to, they're eager to have your feedback on some of the questions and some comments that were also raised. I think the first question that I would like to ask, you talked about being assertive, under the connectivity, you mentioned the positive attitude and also being assertive. So that a lot of times when you try to be assertive, people around you would think you're trying to be domineering, you're trying to be bossy, so to dominate other people. So how do you deal with this? How can you be assertive without necessarily being seen as being domineering, wanting to boss it and lord things over other people? Is that okay if you can take that question, Maria?
Yes, that is always a delicate balance between the potential bossy attitude and the serving attitude. And there is a whole webinar and articles about humble leadership. I think that to lead is not to be bossy. To lead is to show the way, but also to support your employees, your colleagues, because at the end of the day, what you need is to have the objectives achieved. And the motivational loops are more important than the bossy loops. So I would take inspiration by making sure that as a leader, you understand that what you need to do most importantly is to motivate your employees and for them to do their own task. And do not micromanage everything they do, because you have to remember when you were starting and how annoying it was that you didn't have the freedom to create or to achieve. And if you don't trust your employees, you will also destroy the confidence they have in themselves. And so it's a delicate equilibrium, but it requires to practice it. So be gentle with yourself. You will make errors, you will make mistakes, but the only way to learn how to lead is also doing it. That is my recommendation. Thank you for the question.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Thank you, Maria. The next question I have, someone wants to know how you can increase or improve your point of view as a leader. That's one of the final points you left us with. That point of view is the key. So how are you as a leader can actually improve or develop, your skill so that you can always have the right point of view?
Yes, that is a very insightful question. And I would say there are two things. The first one is your network. You have to make sure that you utilize and you expand, you groom your network in a good way. I'm going to expand on that right now. And the second element is your self-learning, to make sure that you read about many things so that your perspective becomes into the future more ample and informed. So nowadays, there is no excuse not to be aware of the current trends in sustainability, energy transition, and digital transformation, with so much going on online. And the second thing the first that I told you about the networking, do this exercise. Draw a circle, and in the middle of the circle, write all the names of the people, the initials of the people with whom you liaise on a monthly basis. Then, when you finish that exercise, draw an outer circle to that. And in that outer area, write down the initials of the names of those people with whom you connect once a year, at least. So, close connections and outer connections. And then take any marker of color, okay? And with that, you will color code your connections by company or by discipline, especially by rank, if you may, by importance in the organizations. And you will notice that if all your network is only one color, you have only probably a very reduced perspective. If your network is multicolor in the many senses, then most probably you have a rich network. If your network is monocolor, monochromatic, make an effort to expand your network. I always say that sometimes you want to go and be promoted or change your location and perhaps be blessed with an assignment overseas or into international company. Check, do you have in your network anyone from human resources in your own organization that can at least explain to you what is the process? Or do you have any high-ranked officer in your network that can be influential to vouch for you as a sponsor? Who do you have as a mentor that can guide you to gain those certifications perhaps needed to move out from your current role to a higher one? So network analysis is very important. And what you do for your network is for the future, not for the past. Final thing, I have a question for you. With so many people lay off, I have received tons of emails and LinkedIn notes of people that never contacted me in more than 10 years. And suddenly I know they are in trouble and reaching out to try to seek help. But how do you feel when somebody contacts you only in emergency? So care about your network and care sincerely to support others. And I will give you just one silly example. But Olanike and I liaise here and there, Happy New Year, Happy Thanksgiving. It's not that we are talking every day, but we care about each other. And I also send sometimes, how are you doing? I keep following you in my Instagram and comment on what you are doing, guys, over there in Lagos. We are so far away, but my caring is sincere. I am not looking for any job in Nigeria right now. Who knows in the future? But I care about people. And when you do, people notice. So make sure that your network is an active network. I hope that answers your question. That was a very insightful question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a very wonderful answer that you've given, and thanks for that analogy. Networking, and active networking. It's a key. Thank you. I think a follow-up question to that, because we've actually touched on one or two things that our audience are asking questions about, is about the mentoring and sponsoring. You mentioned that. So we'd like to get your thoughts in developing a leadership journey, which one should be considered more important, to seek for mentors or sponsors? Perhaps you could also differentiate what's the what's the difference between the two.
Well, I will send you the links to 3 webinars that we launched based on the book I recently wrote with Yves Bront, Mentoring and Sponsoring. And I consider sponsoring is more important. But you can ask somebody to mentor you. What you cannot do is to ask somebody to sponsor you, because the sponsors look at your good work and they vouch for you because they know your quality. So to gain a sponsor, the strategy you can apply is to make your products and your results noticeable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We have a lot of questions. The audience are very, you've really, like I said, it was a mind-blowing presentation, and there are loads of questions. I hope we'll be able to take all the questions, but let's see how far we can go. So someone was asking, thank you, Maria, for the insightful session. Can you share tips? You've shared lots of tips, but specifically on how to build a successful long-term career strategy. Long-term career strategy.
Well, the best way to share with you my insights about that is that First of all, you have to recognize if you would like a managerial career or a technical career. And one hint to assess that is to realize if you are a people's person, most probably you would like a managerial career, because managers have to deal with a lot of issues of people, you know. I don't want to work here, I want to work there, I need vacation, I have a problem, I don't have enough skills, I want to do this training, blah, blah, blah. So all the time you will be surrounded by problems, mostly relatable to people. Yes, technical issues as well, but people. So if you are instead a person who is very detailed and focused on what you do every day, in that case, most probably you would like to pursue something technical. And for something technical, I would suggest that you pursue and go all the way to achieve a PhD or a master's degree so that you are better prepared for that. In that case, that is what I refer to a long-term career strategy. That is the first two-way decision. And later on, make sure that you have a rich career. Don't be afraid of changing companies. That makes of you, gives you a richer experience and a more rounded CV. So every 5 years, reconsider where you are and think if you need a change. That is my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for that. Thank you. Mohammed is asking, as a leader, do you always have to care about making your team members happy by prioritizing their opinions and doing things their way, or you have to do otherwise? So basically, he wants to know if, as a team leader, you have to really make your priority to be to make your team members happy by dancing to their tune, or you have to probably make sure that the company's objectives are met and it has to be done the way it has to be done.
Well, that is one of those other equilibrium things in which you certainly need to realize that nobody wants to work with a boss that is not amenable. And if you think about those people who have become leaders in the organizations, can I ask you a question? Are they the best technical people of your organization?
Not necessarily.
Exactly. And why is that? Because they know how to lead people. And when people look at them, you see the sparkling in the eyes, that they are happy to liaise with them. Isn't that so?
That's true.
So the answer will be to the question that you don't have every time to please everybody. What you have is to motivate them to achieve the goals. And again, I go back to the essence of a leader. A leader is a motivator towards specific goals. It doesn't have to be a technical person. It has to be fearless to take decisions and to do it properly.
Okay. Thank you, Maria. I think I wanted to say we'll take the last question, but we're having about 2 additional questions. If you don't mind, let's quickly take them. So one question, we can link them together and then you can answer them together. So how can we ensure that promotions and succession plans are not interfered by personal preferences or by powerful sponsors? Or how can one also professionally attract powerful sponsors? Because you've also mentioned earlier on to us that sponsoring is much more important than mentoring. So we want to find out how we can professionally attract powerful sponsors, and then linked to that, the question is about, would you think that corporate politics play a role in sponsoring?
A lot. And this is why more and more emphasis is being placed in the governance of companies to have a diversified board of directors. Because there is a human reality, Olanike. We like to be with whom we like. And we like to work with whomever is similar to us. But that is not in the advantage or in the preference of the company. So the leaders cannot surround themselves with leaders who look like them. And they have to do a conscious effort to select the best candidate, not the friends, not those people who are just like them. They need to select the best performers. So good leaders can do that. But I would say bad leaders will surround themselves with whom they like only. And this is why a company needs to be resilient in order to understand that variety, diversity, and perspectives are needed to enrich the decision processes. So I am an advocate of diversity on every level, not only gender diversity, but nationality diversity, age diversity. We have a lot to learn from the young people, okay? Nationality, race, religion diversity. All these give us different perspectives, and we need to pivot on them to launch successful companies, projects, careers, organizations, even countries. If the whole government has the same profile, people are all thinking in only one way, that can take the country to a ruin, to a tragedy. And I want to share with you my sadness for the current situation in Venezuela. For more than 20 years, only one thought is prevailing in my country. Only the same political leaders for 20 years. Was that good for my country? What happened in the oil industry in Venezuela will be a book text example of how not to run a country and a company in oil and gas. At the beginning, when more than 22,000 engineers were expelled from the national oil company in Venezuela, you may or may not know this story. This was back in 2002 and 2003. The people who were out, among them me, we were thinking that the company will collapse because they didn't have the, let's say, the prepared people or the experienced people that left. But with time, now, after 20 years of what happened, I realized, you know what? The problem was not necessarily the people, because the universities in Venezuela were the same universities where I graduated. So the engineers had the same quality, if you think about that. And they also went abroad to study masters and PhDs and all, and they went back to Venezuela to work in their industry. The problem was the leadership. And I regret to say it because we always think, no, the employees are the more important, blah, blah, blah. And we pride ourselves in being employees, right? I've never been a CEO of any company. But I have to admit that studying the Venezuela case, the problem was the leadership. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, it is a more complex problem related to the politics in the country that tarnish everything, in my opinion, again. But what the leadership role is incredibly important, incredibly important. Thank you for that question.
Thank you very much for your answer, Maria. Thank you very much. So part of the question was, how can we then professionally attract powerful sponsors, knowing that we cannot go, like you mentioned, to someone to say, come and sponsor me? How can how can we?
Well, you have to make your work noticeable. One way is to publish what you do and, quote unquote, making known by post it on LinkedIn and other professional ways. I will share with you one anecdote that is in my book. One leader in one of the oil and gas companies in the United States, she realized that in order for the company to publish at SPE, there was a committee approving the abstracts. And the committee was composed by all the managers. Guess what she did? She started sending abstracts. And she knew not all of them were going to be approved. but at least her name
Well
will
said.
be known. Imagine that strategy. I really like it. And
That's
yes, and another way is that you make sure that your work is always of high quality and liaise with more experienced people so that your papers and your work has a weight, perhaps heavier than if you do it alone. People will notice.
Interesting. Thank you, Maria. I think because of time, we would have to stop there. We would like to say a very big thank you to you on behalf of SPE Lagos Section 61 for such a very interesting and thought-provoking session we've just had on how to boost our resilience and leadership at work. And I believe not just at work, even in all the spheres of our lives. And I believe that by the time we leave here and we start to put everything we've learned today into practice, you will be hearing about about us, how we're going higher and with more successes, hopefully. Thank you very much. And also would like to thank all our participants. Would like to thank you for your time, because without you, today's webinar wouldn't have actually have taken place. So I believe you've learned so much, and please let's try to put all what we've learned. Let's try to put it into practice so that we'll be doing differently as resilient professionals, and also demonstrating good leadership skills. So, but before we go, please let's listen to some of the announcements that we have for us. So, Princess, over to you.
Thank you, Olanike. And thank you, Maria, once again for a very insightful session. So, Odion, please share the slides. So we are very much excited and just building up on this insightful session by Maria. We are starting the year very resilient and strong as a session, and we have a whole lot of member benefit events that have been planned already that you can take advantage of to upskill yourself. So one webinar which is upcoming, that would be on Saturday, 23rd of January, 2021 at 11 a.m. is Getting Ahead in 2021 and Beyond. And in this webinar, you'll be equipped with the tools and principles you need to be able to utilize your mindset to get to where you want and be successful in all areas of your life. We also have an online technical training planned. It's titled High Resolution and Advanced Reservoir Simulation, a key differentiation in dynamic modeling. It's open to anyone who wants to learn more about dynamic reservoir simulation and who has basic understanding of it. The registration is free. You can participate for free, but it closes this Sunday, January 17th. So please ensure you register. This information has also been shared on our various social media platforms, so you can get more information there or visit our website. We also have another upcoming session that speaks to finance, and definitely finance is one other area that we'll be resilient in, especially with respect to the new normal in this pandemic season. The title is 360 Degrees Personal Finance in Times Like This. We would have the MD CEO of Candor Crest Africa Limited, Adebola Agumbiade, teaching us how we can build our personal finance and safeguard our future despite various uncertainties and shocks. We also have our vision board event that has been planned, and we know that the vision board will help guide your life strategy for this year with respect to your career and every other thing of importance to you. So please endeavor to be a part of this planned events, and you can get more information by following SPE Lagos section on LinkedIn, We're active on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and even on YouTube. And very interestingly, this webinar, the replay link will be shared on our social media handles. It will be uploaded to YouTube, so you can come back to learn more. For inquiries on becoming a member or renewing your membership, you can contact any of the listed persons, the emails that is showing right now, or Dio Chimere or Stella, or just send us an email to spelagos@gmail.com. We will take all your inquiries. And it's been a very wonderful time this evening listening to this webinar on how to build your resilience and leadership at work. And we are very glad you could join us from different parts of the globe. I believe all the tips that have been shared will be useful to move us ahead. So thank you very much for joining us, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you everyone, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.